Hey, everybody, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Fangirl Radio Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dwyer, and with me, as always, is my lovely and talented co-host, Mr. Erik Smith.
Hey, everybody.
He shaved his legs for this, didn't you, Erik?
Absolutely.
Yes. So I am back. It has been a couple of weeks. I went to Horror Hound Weekend and then got felled with con crud, possibly, or it was the girl hacking on the plane. But Horror Hound Weekend was well worth getting sick for. It was a great show. And I got to do some awesome panels with some even more awesome guests. And I was very proud to be a part of the 30th anniversary Reanimator panel. 30 years. Man.
Seems like just yesterday.
I'm very old. And that was an amazing panel. It had Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, Barbara Crampton, Carolyn Purdy Gordon, Stuart Gordon, and Dennis Paoli, the screenwriter, were all on the panel. And we also even had Dr. Hill's severed head. So,
Nice.
yeah, and it was a vein of beauty, and you can see that. I believe I posted some images of that on my Facebook page. But Terrence Zudinich, I always say Zudnik. It's Zudinich. That's actually how you say it. From Repo the Genetic Opera was there, and we got to actually preview unheard music from Devil's Carnival 2 on his panel. No one had ever heard it. That was so awesome. So Horror Hound Weekend was a phenomenal, fun time for everybody. Once again, Norman Reedus was there on Saturday, and his line went around the building, I think, twice.
Wow.
Yeah, he did quite a bit on Saturday. But this episode is very special, and I'm very, very excited. I can't wait for you to hear it. Our special guest this episode is Mr. Ted Raimi. He was great. We had a great time talking to him about his new YouTube series, Deathly Spirits, which you can listen to and watch, more so listen to. You'll see why. Tomorrow, as of this airing, it will be on April 3rd, Friday, on YouTube. And it's a creepy combination of old school radio thriller and how to mix a drink. That's kind of what I took from it, right, Erik?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So can't wait. Keep listening, and we will have our interview with Ted Raimi here shortly. But first, we have to go through some Week in Geek news. And, of course, we have to talk about the Walking Dead finale, even though I did a video review of that you can watch online on fangirlmag.com. But we have to talk a little bit about it because, holy crap, that was
A lot of stuff happened.
a lot of stuff happened. And the one thing I did not mention in my review was that awesome scene between Abraham and Eugene.
Oh, yeah. That was fantastic. I love Eugene. And that was just a great little scene in the middle of all the chaos. That was kind of a little quiet, personal scene.
Well, and because everyone sort of forgot the fact that they were, Abraham almost killed him
Yes.
in the chaos of everything going on. We sort of forgot the fact that Eugene could have died because Abraham got really pissed, and he's got really big arms.
Yes.
And so it was an interesting. That was a great scene. It was perfect for those characters.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Abraham was very withdrawn and withheld, and very stoic and very monosyllabic on how he answered. And Eugene was very robot-like.
Eugene has one of the greatest ways of speaking.
It's awesome.
You have to credit the writers and the actor for just bringing that character to life, and the way he talks is so entertaining. It makes him one of my favorite characters just for that.
Josh McDermott is the man, I have to say. And he was at Horror Hound this weekend, and his line never stopped because he is such a cool guy, and that character is so great. And I have to mention this. At a convention, you'll have banners above people's tables to tell you who they are. Mm-hmm. And his says Dr. Eugene, and I can't remember his last name. Oh, my God. But anyway, his character's name, well, you can tell that it was him that did it. He took a marker and marked out the doctor because he's not actually a doctor. So there's Dr. Eugene, and then there's this big marker over the doctor part because it's a falsehood. The
Yes.
mullet is full of lies. The mullet is lies. So it was it was such a good episode, and nothing happened like I thought it was going to, except for Porch Dick.
Well, it didn't feel like a season finale to me.
Mm-mm. No,
As
it didn't.
as much as I enjoyed the episode and what went on, it I don't know, it just didn't feel like, maybe because we as a TV viewing audience have become so used to season finales being these huge things that are going to leave you in shock, leave you with some great cliffhanger, and when that doesn't happen, it doesn't feel like it was a finale. But back in the day, not season finales weren't like that.
Well, The Walking Dead is notorious for killing off main cast members or major cast members on their finales, especially when they're directed by Greg Nicotero.
Well, apparently that's what they do at the mid-season, and then when it comes back for the second half of the season.
Yeah,
that's what they did this year.
Yeah,
this season.
That's pretty much the truth. It was sort of interesting. I mean, my money was on Daryl going out. I could have swore to God that he was going to die, and I had placed. My thing was I had no basis of this, but I swore they were going to take him out with Negan. Like Negan was going to show up at the end of the episode and nail him in the head with a baseball bat. I could have swore that was going to happen, and it didn't. But boy, for a little bit there, you did not know what was going to happen with Daryl.
Yeah.
And that was well played. Well played, sirs. Well played. And I still stick by Little Merle and my idea of the moment he said, we need to figure out a way to cover up these windows so they can't see in. Make out! Just make out.
Steam up the windows. Up
the windows. Just do it, Aaron. You know you want to. Kiss him. So, anyway. Sorry. Don't want to offend the people of Indiana. So anyway, Walking Dead finale was great. So much fun. So moving on to another zombie series that I have yet to talk about on this show, because of timing and how, God, I felt like waiting forever for iZombie. iZombie was well worth the wait though. And it is probably like one of my favorite TV series right now. Just after 3 episodes, it is so good. And Erik is spot on with his assessment of the lead character. She looks just like a Mike Allred character come to life.
She does. You see her on screen, and if you know his artwork at all, it's spot on.
No, she looks just like the girl in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's creepy to the point of creepy. So there are some definite differences between this and the comic book, but there's enough similarities and things going on. And Mike Allred is like a proponent of the comic on Twitter. He's like posting about it all the time. Everybody in the show basically has a Twitter feed as well. And it's just a great show. Everybody's just got a great chemistry. And I love, Allred did the artwork for the credit sequence.
Mm-hmm.
He actually did it. So that's why it looks so much like the comic, because he actually did the artwork. And it's just a really great show. It's written by the guy that did Veronica Mars. So he has a penchant for writing for petite little strong blondes.
Yes.
And that snarky comes across in this. And I really love how she takes on those personality traits of the Brains. And this last episode, which Erik hasn't seen yet, but was so good, Liv takes on, she eats the brain of a sociopath and doesn't realize it until it's too late. And it turns out it's a killer for hire guy that was murdered by his client. And she becomes very, very cold and withdrawn and emotionless. And I love...
So sort of zombie-like?
Yes, exactly. That's what she says is, I've been a zombie for so long, but I truly feel like one now, kind of a thing. And it's interesting. There's some really great scenes where she's dealing with so much pain because of the things going on in her life, and how she's like, if I just eat more of this guy's brain, I won't have to feel it. and I really want that. She's really tempted to just keep in this cold zone that she's in, that this allows her to be in. So it's a really interesting, um, you
See,
know, it's a great thing for the character too. You can do so many different things with that.
that's an interesting contrast to the previous week's episode,
Hmm.
where eating the artist's brain kind of brought her more alive, and
Exactly.
she was feeling everything and wanted to trying to grab that and
Right.
seeing the beauty and the joy and the life and everything. So it's interesting that the very next episode she's trying to dull all of that.
Yeah, it's a really cool, just that the concept of that show, and that superpower, if you want to call it that she has, makes it such a great show for story, because she can be anything.
Hmm.
And that has to play into it. The other piece of this show that I'm really really loving, not just her great morgue boss, who got that
Hmm.
part in one audition, apparently.
Well, he's
He's
fantastic.
fantastic. Is David Anders, who everyone knows from Heroes and from Once Upon a Time, which, please, it sucks. He's not going to come back to Once Upon a Time now that he's doing this show. It just pisses me off. I know it. And I loved him as Frankenstein. He was so great in Once Upon a Time. But he plays, I believe his name is Shane in this, and he is the villain of the piece.
He's so fantastic in it too.
Oh, he's so smarmy.
So slimy and charming. He's slarming.
Slarming. I want a
Yes.
shirt with that on it. Oh my God.
Uh, but yeah, I absolutely love his character.
And he's the reason she's a zombie.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. And he's slow, and that the idea that he's going to start, he's not stupid. That's the thing. He's a player.
Yeah.
And he realized really quickly, I can make a lot of money by
Yeah.
infecting rich women with this, and then them realizing they're not going to die now, and plus I can feed them, get them a supply of brains. He doesn't care that he's going to have to like murder off everybody that he gets brains from. um so, or maybe he wasn't lying when he was talking about the grave robbing thing, but I think he's more of the easier to get them when they're alive deal. They're right there. I don't have to dig them up.
Yeah.
um but oh God, it's so good. So, you know what really sucks though for me? I have DirecTV, and my local DirecTV here does not have a CW affiliate, and they won't give me one. They won't give me the access to the East West feeds, so I have to wait a day to watch it, to see it
Mm.
on Hulu, which is the same thing with The Flash.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you need to check out Erik's Flash in the Flash review for Tricksters that is up on fangirlmag.com, because, oh my God, Grodd's coming.
Oh yeah.
Grodd's coming.
Can't wait for Bill Grodd.
Grodd. And they're doing another spinoff too.
Yeah.
They just found someone else for that. I'm trying to remember who they cast. Oh,
I know.
Arthur Darvill. Arthur Darvill is playing
Right.
a time traveler.
Rip Hunter, I believe his name is.
Yes, and it's basically the Doctor.
Yeah.
So Rory is playing the Doctor on this new spinoff from The Flash and Arrow, which is basically like the super team one. It's got the Atom's going to be in it, and
Yeah, I saw they just cast Hawk Girl. I
Yep.
don't remember who the actress was.
No, but they did cast her,
Hmm.
and but I was dying when I was reading the description of his character. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He hides the weight of the years and the weight of the time travel behind a veneer of happy-go-lucky chum kind of a thing. I'm like, really? Really, Arthur? Really?
If he has a long scarf.
Or a long coat. He has to have a long coat. But what's so great about this is it seems like the CW and these DC shows are getting everybody from Doctor Who they can to be in their series. You've got Rory, you've had River, and you've got Jack. So it's basically they're marking them off. I'm waiting for like Matt Sims to show up as some evil villain mastermind. Speaking of comic book awesomeness, because I have to talk about this. It just happened today as of this recording. Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
Deadpool is going to be what, Eric? What is Deadpool going to be?
Rated R.
Yeah! Sorry. There was a little bit of a glee there. The best thing I've seen ever on online happened with Ryan Reynolds being interviewed by I can never remember his name from Saved by the Bell.
Mario Lopez.
Mario
right?
Lopez, yes. I can't remember his name on Saved by the Bell. Anyway, Mario Lopez is interviewing Ryan Reynolds about Deadpool and telling him how it really should be a family-friendly movie. You really should cater. And all of a sudden, Deadpool himself clocks him on the head with like a camera and kills him on screen and tells him, basically his Saved by the Bell character has been murdered and it's okay. JC was his name? I can't remember.
Didn't he? He's like, Zach, Slater can't hurt you anymore.
That's right, Slater. Zach, it's okay. Slater can't hurt you anymore. And he's holding this cartoon with Rest in Peace Slater and him dead on it. So yes, Deadpool is going to be rated R. And I am it's like Christmas. It's Christmas.
I've been a Deadpool fan for decades, almost since the introduction of the character. Not quite, but pretty close. And Ryan Reynolds always seemed like the perfect person to play the part. And then that Wolverine movie came out and destroyed my soul.
They even mentioned that in the video,
yes.
which is so great. He actually looks embarrassed about the Wolverine movie.
So it's so nice to see that they're going real Deadpool this time.
And his eyes.
And
the eyes, the little white eyes, like quirk up. They have to be animated. I mean, they're little white eyes. Oh my God.
Reynolds is perfect for the part.
It looks like they pulled him right out of the comic book too, that costume.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's a thing of beauty. I'm so stoked. It's a good time to be alive. It really is. So before we get to our interview segment, I have to tell you all about this really great thing going on right now. I'm desperately trying to get Erik to buy it because he really needs to. So there's a site called Groupies, GROUPEES.com, Group Ease. And right now, actually you can have part of your, what you give them in money go to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, which is a very good cause. Right now they have a massive Dynamite comics bundle, and Dynamite does some of the coolest comics out there. Like they do the old school stuff like the Spider, and they do the Shadow and Green Hornet, Red Sonja, Vampirella. They do the Game of Thrones comics. They do the Alice Cooper comics, Army of Darkness, just some of the best stuff out there, including Bob's Burgers, by the way. They have a Bob's Burgers series. So right now on the site, and it also includes the Dresden File comic books and just a ton of stuff. So right now you can go on Groupies and you can buy this collection, and you can donate up to, you can donate whatever you want, but if you do up to $10, you get $250 worth of Dynamite digital comics for $10.
Yeah.
For a minimum of $1, you get around $50 worth. For $5, you get $200 worth. You cannot beat that with a stick, people. And I mean, this is stuff like the entire run of Army of Darkness, Hail to the Queen, Purgatory, the entire run, like the first 4 issues, Green Hornet, Kevin Smith written Green Hornet 1 through 10, the Dresden File books, Django versus Zorro 1 and 2. So just a ton of stuff. And I can't say enough. When I find these things, I tell everybody about them because this is such an awesome deal. And it's going on for the next 5 days as of this recording. So tomorrow, when this airs on Thursday, you'll have 4 days to get it. And groupies.com, I will actually be posting a link to this on fangirlmag.com for you guys. But totally, the other cool thing about Groupies is they do other stuff that are very geek friendly, like bundles. Once again, donations, very, very cheap, $1 minimums to start with. And you can get video games, records, and other stuff in these bundles. So you can get entire video games, like 10 games for $1 on this site. Mm-hmm. So check it out, groupies.com, and I'll have links up for you. And you really can't beat it. I mean, really, seriously, 101 comic books for $10.
Yeah.
So with that, it is time for our interview with Ted Raimi. I didn't tell him during the interview that I had a total crush on him growing up with, especially Lunatic's Love Story, which I, at one time, watched once a week for a year.
Nice.
Because I love hardcore and stalkery. But that's just me. But yeah, so this was a great interview. We had such a great time with him. And once Deathly Spirits goes up, we will have a link to the YouTube video for you on the site as well. But don't wait for us. Go to YouTube on Friday, April 3rd. Go find Deathly Spirits. You're going to love it. And before we get to the interview, thank you, Erik, for being on this week.
Oh, absolutely.
This was a joy. And here we go, Mr. Ted Raimi. Everyone, I'd love to welcome Mr. Ted Raimi to his first appearance on Fangirl Radio. And if you are not familiar with the name, which you definitely should be, you will be immediately recognizing the face if you saw him in so many things. He's been in, God, your list of on IMDb is huge, sir. I just have to say.
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you. It's good to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me. I looked about few months ago on IMDb because I thought to myself, well, I wonder how many movies and TV shows I've done. You get to a point in your life and you say, well, I don't really know. I'm a very lucky guy. I've got a lot of credit. So I went and I looked, and many of them I don't remember doing. I mean, it's not because I was snorting blow or something. It's just that I don't recall them. It was so long ago. So I counted all the movies that I'd done, and I realized I'd been in almost 100 movies.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I did. I think the last one I did, I don't know what the last movie I did, but movie-wise, I'm on like 94 or 95 or something. But I'm very, very proud of myself, and just for that regard, I mean, just because I was doing movies in the days when it was hard to get a movie. Now, of course, everybody makes them. Everybody's brother's sister has a feature film in development, but back when I was doing them, in the 80s and 90s, it was just strictly studios and stuff. So I'm pretty proud of that. And it was very nice to look back, and see the movies I've done. It was a wonderful thing. IMDb is great. It's like it's like a scrapbook that you may not want to see, but it's there.
Well, and it's disappointing that you don't have any blow stories, because I was going to totally ask you if you did blow off of Alf's stomach while you were filming. I mean,
no, I never did blow. That's so funny you mentioned. Alf was the second TV show I was ever in. That was the second hour of television I ever did. The first was a failed pilot called Night and Day, which I think I shot in 1988, but which would have been a completely unmemorable experience, except that Jack Warden was the star of it.
Wow. I think I remember seeing that pilot somewhere.
Oh man, I doubt it. You're not old enough.
Oh my God, no, you don't understand. I remember everything.
Old or something, but
yeah,
that was a long time ago. But I do remember Jack Warden, and Jack Warden was great. Just to get to do some lines with Jack Warden was worth the whole experience. Sadly, what made that experience less than ideal, my first TV experience, was that Mason Adams was also on the show. Now, for those of you who are of a certain age, like myself, in their 40s, who don't know who Mason Adams is, he was the voice of Smucker's Jam. He did 1,000 voiceovers. And Mason Adams sounds like this. You might have heard him in certain kinds of commercials. He has that voice. Anyway, Mason was, well, he's dead, so he was a dick. He was really a dick. He was a dick to me. And I was just this kid. I was only like 21 years old at the time. And Mason was probably in his late 60s or early 70s. And on the first day of shooting, Sorry, no. Just before we went live, because we were shooting in front of a live audience, it was a sitcom. Mason said to me, "Are you gonna wear those glasses?" And I had small round glasses at the time, and so did Mason. I said, "Yes, Mason, I will." He said, "You can't wear those glasses. They might get us confused."
Nice.
I looked at Mason. I looked at the director, who shrugged, and then I looked at Jack Warden, and Jack Warden said to me, "Don't worry about Mason." While Mason was standing right there, probably pissed in his cereal this morning. That's what Jack Warden said to me. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I fell down laughing. Anyway, but Mason Adams was just a cranky old man. I don't miss him. I do miss Jack Warden, though. God rest his soul. What an actor and what a fine man. Anyway, just going back to the very first thing I ever did 1,000 years ago. But, yeah.
Well, and that was kind of one of the questions that I was going to ask you was, you've done so much TV. What was the most surreal experience that you've had doing a television series? Because you've done so many different kinds of TV series.
Yeah, I have. I guess the most surreal one, well, I think my first regular series show, Sequest DSV, back in starting in 1993 was, the most surreal one because, I hadn't done a whole lot up to that. I'd done some movies, mostly horror movies like Wes Craven's Shocker. I'd done a few TV spots and a lot of commercials, but I hadn't really, been in a TV show. I didn't know what that kind of fame was like. I'd never experienced anything like that. And the whole time my head was sort of in the clouds, I couldn't quite grasp it. And I don't think a lot of actors can, and fortunately I had good parents who taught me how to be respectful and good with my money and things like that. So I never had the same fate that most first-time actors do when they're on a TV show, which is behave like a dick and blow all your money so that by the end of the show, you're left with no reputation and nothing in your bank. That's a very, very common scenario, and more common than you might even think. You probably don't even know all the actors that go through all that. But I did. It was very, very odd. It's a very surreal experience to suddenly be more or less unknown and then be very, very, very known. So that was quite a thing.
Well, and that was one of the other questions that kind of leading me into everything I had on my list here for you. I have a special love for Sequest DSV, and I didn't realize until just before when we booked you, I went back and looked at everybody that had been on that show. It was a huge list of guest stars. There were major people in this thing. Like,
yeah, we had great guest stars, and we had. We had everybody, but including Michael York, who was on the show for a while. And, at the time, you have to remember, Sequest had a budget of $1.5 million an episode, which today is very modest.
Right, but back
at that time, first of all, you have to remember, take it back to, number one, 1993 dollars. So if you adjust for inflation, that's probably closer to $4 million an episode or something now. And that's an incredible amount of money. But at that time, nobody had spent that much money on a per episode show. Nobody had. And when we got canceled after season 3, it wasn't because of ratings. Our ratings were still pretty good, but it was just too expensive to continue with, And if it had been any less money, probably would have gone on. But it was just too much money to make,
So how was it for you working with, like, just for a name that was on here, like you had William Shatner? How was it with Shatner on set?
Great. Shatner was great. He was, he's just, he's an old theater hand who became a TV star. And he was fine. He just came in, he just sort of nailed his stuff and went home. I wish I had some great, sort of Captain Kirk stories for you, but he was just a real professional, and I always admired him for that, But still, when he walked on set, it was like, shit, Captain Kirk's here.
Well, and Charlton Heston too, and David McCallum, who I absolutely adore. I mean, it just was such a neat show, and
it was great having David McCallum on it too, and I remember him very well. And I think he might have passed away since. I don't know. Is he still with us?
I think McCollum is. McCollum is, because I think he's still on NCIS.
Oh, good for him. Oh, right. That's right. He is.
Yeah. I'd cry.
He's great. You know, he's been around. McCollum's, I'm fairly certain, one of these, you know, Royal Shakespeare guys who theater actor for a million years and is just fascinating to watch in front of the camera. Heston was awesome too. Heston was great. I'll never forget working with him because he was such a professional. I'd never seen such professionalism. I think I might have seen that level of professionalism maybe another 5 or 6 times in my entire career. In that, Charles Heston would never, ever leave the set unless he had to go to the bathroom so bad he just couldn't take it anymore. Like, he was, most actors of his caliber, when they do television, and these are in the days, you have to remember, when television was really, like, not much compared to movies. Television was a subgenre. Now, television is as good or better. Big A-list actors all want to do great TV shows. But in those days, they didn't. So Heston was doing this thing, so it was a really big deal. But most actors of his caliber would leave a set if there was a break in the action. They just go right back to their trailer and hang out, make calls, whatever. Heston never left, and he always knew his lines and everybody else's lines. That guy was, you know, he was not a movie star for no reason, I guess. You know?
That's great. So I got one more question. I'm going to turn it over to Erik because I know he's got some great ones for you.
Sure.
But one thing I always ask actors who have done a lot of genre work, do you think horror and science fiction, with everything that's going on with, say, like, you've got Star Wars, you've got the Avengers films, you've got Game of Thrones and Penny Dreadful, do you think that horror and science fiction, fantasy, the genres in particular, are getting the respect that they finally deserve, you know, in this day and time? Or do you think it's still kind of considered, like you said, actors of that sort of caliber wouldn't do it, but you're seeing them do it now?
Well, I think where the money goes, the respect goes.
It's true.
That's really as simple as that. You cannot ignore money. I think that there are a generation. I think there's still a generation of snobs out there who, young and old, who say this is just all crap, and I'm interested in real drama. But it's cyclical. Everything's cyclical too. There was a time in from 55 to about 65 when this genre was very big, and then it became unbig. And then the 70s and 80s came around, and 90s and whatever, and then became big again. So it's a little bit cyclical of a thing, and it will become unpopular again, without a doubt. It seems like it'll always be with us, but nothing ever is. It's funny, if you think, for example, it seems like that is the case, but take, for example, say all of us were living in 1947 right now, having this conversation, and we would say to ourselves, movies were kind of crappy, then they got great, and they'll always be great from now on. We've got Bogart, we've got Bacall, we have James Cagney, we have E.G. Marshall, we have all these great actors and everybody, and how could it ever be bad again? Of course, they got very bad again. Movies got really, in fact, shitty for a long, long time, and they got so bad that the studio heads didn't know what to do, so they started hiring independent people to do it for them because they couldn't figure it out anymore. And that's true with science fiction and fantasy and horror, too. I think this is a wonderful time for it. We're living in sort of a golden age of it, for better and for worse, of this genre because there's just so much of it and so much money is being made. So critics cannot help but, have to sort of fall in line with it. But again, it'll become unpopular again, I think, eventually.
Well, and you came from that independent field too.
Yeah.
And so what it's like to fight for it.
Yeah, and in those days too, like when I started, there wasn't Kickstarter, there wasn't anything. You just had to beg your dad's friends for money,
Exactly.
That was all there was, and raid your college fund and all that kind of stuff.
Max out your credit cards and go for it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Eric, I know you've got some doozies for him, so I am going to hand it over to you for now.
All right. Well, Ted, how do you feel about doing something a little different here?
Sure, let's go. That sounds like fun.
This is the first time I'm trying this out, so hopefully it doesn't flop. But what I want to do is ask you 3 questions.
By the way, if it does flop, you'll hear a click and then a dial tone.
Thanks,
great.
Eric.
Great. No pressure then. What I want to do, I want to ask you 3 questions about me.
Okay.
All right. So
I already like this game.
All right. So my first question is, what is my favorite Ted Raimi performance and why?
Your favorite Ted Raimi performance would be the Midnight Meat Train, because I get my eyeballs smashed out of my head by a sledgehammer.
That's a great answer, but I'm sorry, we were looking for Wing in My Name is Bruce.
Oh, God.
But now
right.
I might have.
Okay, Roger that. Yeah,
I might have to reconsider.
Fair enough.
I do like the scene in Midnight Meat Train.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Wing in My Name is Bruce, incidentally, in that movie, I played 3 different parts, one of which is an 80-year-old Asian man named Wing. And it's a comedy. The movie is a comedy, of course. It's not a serious movie by any means. It's a broad comedy, old school. And I got some of the worst, I shouldn't say worst, that's a whole different idea. I got some of the most scathing reviews for that movie of my performance as that character that I've ever gotten in that movie. Oh, thank you. I thank you very much. Well, there's what I learned. Every movie has a little lesson, and what I learned from that movie is, unless you're a really big star, not a character actor like I am, unless you're a really big star, you're not allowed to play other ethnicities. If you're Robert Downey Jr., you can play a black man in a comedy. If you're Eddie Murphy, you can play a Jewish man in a comedy. But if you're Ted Raimi, you may not play an Asian man in a comedy. That is not acceptable. And boy, did I get some tough reviews. I think the worst I ever got was the New York Village Voice. You're familiar with the famous liberal newspaper there, with a very for the people, kind of a mag there in New York City. Said, I memorized this quote because it burned it into my head. Ted Raimi, and I'm quoting, gives the most offensive performance of an Asian man since Mickey Rooney did it in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I was going to ask if they compared you to Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
That was the first thing that came to my mind.
And hey, listen, I listen. It's there. Look, whenever you're doing comedy and whenever you're doing a comedy stereotype, which is just it's always tricky to do. It's always tricky. You will offend somebody. There's no doubt about it. But it's all about the context of your jokes. That's really, when you're doing comedy, that's all about the context. And in this instance, it was so broad, the comedy in this movie, and it was so outrageous and off the wall that if anyone took offense at it, they must have been either the most dour person in the world, or looking for it, or just kind of snort and blow, and then were just angry and drinking. I don't know. I'm not sure. But boy, they really ripped me a new one, as they say in that performance. Crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. What's your next question?
All right. This one's a little tricky. What is my favorite color?
God, Eric.
I like the abstract nature of that. That's really interesting.
He's thinking.
I'm trying to think. Your favorite color is dark red.
Oh, that's very close.
What is it?
Very close. Well, my favorite color is black, but my second favorite color is red, so you're right in between.
Okay, not bad. Red. So I'm pretty close. I probably got...
It's pretty good. That's an ESP test.
Yep. Printing it is sort of ESP. Yep.
All right, and finally, what's that?
No, go on. Yes, your next question.
Okay, the final question
I'm
here.
waiting with bated breath. I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say.
Why am I excited about Deathly Spirits?
Why are you excited about Deathly Spirits? Because Deathly Spirits will frighten and excite you. Helps you learn how to make craft cocktails, which is something that I love to do. That's why you will like Deathly Spirits.
Great.
And for those who don't know, Deathly Spirits is my new web series, which premieres Friday, April the 3rd. And it is a throwback to old 1940s and 50s radio shows where the story was narrated instead of performed, really, and filmed. So this is a sort of an old-fashioned sort of storytelling idea where I sit in front of the camera to a degree and tell the story as opposed to shocking the audience. They'll have to just listen audibly to get the horror and the chill. So it's quite a challenge, but it's been a lot of fun making the thing.
That sounds great.
The teaser looks fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of old radio shows, so
Me too.
That's pulling me in even more. I can't wait to see/hear it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot. I think it'll turn out well. I'm very proud of the pilot, and in fact, I'm shooting episode 2 tomorrow, so that's very exciting for to air next week. And it's been fun. Also, I've had a lot of good help from Alex Albrecht. I don't know if you know who Alex Albrecht is. He's kind of a web guru. He created a show called Dignation, and also the Totally Rad Show. He's a big internet guy, mostly a gamer, but he's an old friend of mine, and he helped me out a great deal. So it was great to have his help too.
So how does the drinking / cocktails mix into this? How does that work in? Are they haunted cocktails?
No, the cocktails aren't haunted. The idea is your nerves will be so jangled by the story that you'll need a drink to settle you down.
Nice.
This is great. So can you give us a preview of what the first drink is that you make on the show?
Yes, I'll tell you. Really, they're classic cocktails. There's no sort of sex on the beach and flaming shots of peach horror and nothing like that. Basically, anything that you find at a college bar, you won't find on that show.
Thank God.
The first drink is the oldest drink, the oldest cocktail in the world, which is the Old Fashioned.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's the Old Fashioned, which is basically came out of the cocktail itself. The origins of it came from the Old Fashioned. And what the Old Fashioned is bitters mixed with bourbon and simple syrup or sugar and a muddled orange. But initially, it was just bitters. And what bitters are, if you don't know, they're the oldest sort of medicine. It's a tincture. And of course, for those of you who don't know that, a tincture is nothing more than herbs preserved in alcohol. And usually very clear alcohol to preserve them so that you could give them as medicine, as very early sort of medicine that you could deliver to people and it would keep for years. So people would take these herbs, these health herbs, and these tinctures, but they realized that they tasted awful. They tasted bitter, hence the name. So they would start mixing them with nice things like booze to make it go down a little smoother.
More alcohol with the alcohol, please.
More alcohol with the alcohol. Then they realized, well, that was good, but it needed to be a little sweeter, so they put a little sugar in it. And that's how the Old Fashioned got started. And that's why it's called the Old Fashioned, because it really is the oldest mixed drink that we know of.
Very cool.
That is very, very cool. I have a friend of mine named Alex Hamilton that is an old school bartender that makes these drinks. He even uses like egg in the I don't think it's the Old Fashioned he uses the egg in. There's a drink that he uses like eggs in. And
yes, that's right.
It is?
Typically eggs are made with a drink called a flip. It's an old sort of a drink, and you can make lots of things with flips. The best example of a flip that everybody likes is eggnog. I'm sure you've had an eggnog.
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing more than a flip made with bourbon and sugar and sometimes a little bit of rum.
Got it. Yeah, and he's like an old school bartender. He has like a kit and everything that he brings around with him. And so
Oh, he's serious.
yeah, he works at a bar, kind of a plug for him, the Handlebar in Austin. He works there and he looks like an old school strong man, so that works out just great.
Yeah. I just have to make a side note here. This is incidentally for those who are listening, if you give a crap, this is the first Skype interview I've ever given. And it's the best thing in the world. You guys are so crystal clear. I thought Skype was all crap, but actually I'm never talking on the phone again.
You can have people call you on Skype with their phones. They can do that.
No, I'm not going to have them do that anymore.
Oh, you got it.
The hell with that. I just want people to call Skype to Skype. That's the only way I want to do it.
It is a handy dandy little thing for sure.
Yeah.
So I know we're about run out of time with you, but I wanted to ask you, because it kind of ties into the background on Deadly Spirits.
Yes, Jessica.
You've worked on cartoons and done a lot of voice work.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? And I love the fact that you can do so many impressions, because I loved Code Monkeys.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun show.
Freaking love that show.
Yeah, I enjoy. Yeah, Code Monkeys was a lot of fun, and I didn't know it would have such legs. People were Adam and Gretchen that made that show came to me and wanted me to be on it. They just wanted me because I could do all these different kind of goofy voices, and so they asked me to do it, and I did it, and it was fun. I think I was like Robert De Niro. I did about 100. Listen, I'm not like some amazing impressionist. I just do my own weird versions of these sort of celebrities. I have the Ted version of these things. So, so don't get me wrong. You won't see me up on stage doing stand-up and impressions, but I do my own weird versions of them. Yeah, so that was fun. And I also voiceover. I also did Invader Zim for a very talented animator named Jonan Vasquez, who created that show. Who I think now is working for what's it called? Swim, late night swim.
Oh, Adult Swim.
Adult Swim. He's doing Adult Swim now, which is perfect for him because he's kind of a mad genius, So.
That's awesome. Well,
but anyway, yeah, I'm just very. And thanks for having me on your show. I'm very proud of this new thing I've done. I've been sort of hermiting away for the last year. Did you guys read the Anne Rice book? I think it's what's that first one? The Vampire Lestat. Is that the very first book of that series?
Interview with the Vampire.
Excuse me. Interview with the Vampire. The Vampire Lestat's the sequel, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And in that first one, there's the scariest and freakiest moment of that whole book. I mean, it's really an interesting book. Most of it I didn't love, but there was a very frightening part of it where I think Lestat at some point is hiding. And he hides from like 1930 to about 1975 under a house. Mm-hmm. And all he does, it's like one paragraph. It's the scariest paragraph of the book. He's hiding under a house and he's eating rats and reading books. That's all he does for 35 years of his life.
Are you saying that was what you were doing for a year?
Well, it felt like this last year I started doing that. I mean, I wasn't eating rats, but I was counting them here in LA. We have a lot of them around. I was sort of counting them walk on the, the power line poles and reading books. So I sort of hermited away a bit, but now I'm back and it's nice to be back.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you back, sir, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I have to say before we let you go,
yes,
I am going to stab someone in the throat if I don't get a good quality copy on DVD of Lunatics: A Love Story. When are we going to get that? That's one of my favorite things you've ever done.
Thank you so much. It's such a nice compliment. I've done 1 million indie movies. Very few of them have been love stories like that one. That was, of course, almost a very bizarre love story. But that one I thought turned out great.
I loved it.
And thank you. Thank you so much. I did too. I'm very proud of that one. And I don't say that about everything I've done, but I'm very proud of that. And Josh Becker directed that. He did a fantastic job. And the problem with that being released, Sony has a print, but they will not put it out on DVD. And I have had so many people ask me the very question that you have had. Why isn't that on DVD or Blu-ray? and all of us who made the film were just shrugging. I mean, look, Sony's releasing like Trancers 9.
It's true.
It's like, give me a break, man. Come on, dude. It's like, okay, fine, I get it. That's a genre, it's a sci-fi genre movie, but it's like, Bloodsuckers 4, the new beginning. Yeah, the seconding, whatever, the fourthening.
No, the thing that sucks is this movie is so visually gorgeous. It's like a living cartoon in some spots, and it would be
really is
beautiful.
Yeah, and we had it was really nice, and Debbie Foreman, who's just a sweet girl and a fine actress, played what was her name in that movie? Julie, I think.
I think it was Julie. Yeah, I think.
I can't remember the gag. It was so long ago. I haven't seen it in a while. But that character she played was just great, and she did such a wonderful job. And I'm very proud of that movie. I really am. And still, after all these years, it's one of my favorite indies I've done. It was the first indie I was ever in, just by chance. But I'm grateful. Listen, a lot of actors never get the opportunity that I had just to even do one movie that they were proud of. Most actors, are, doing Bloodbath for The Return, and I'm lucky to have done that movie, so I'm a lucky guy.
It's a unique movie, too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. If you can find it on DVD, which is almost impossible now. Excuse me, on VHS, it's almost impossible now, but it's worth your time, I think.
Totally. Well, Ted, thank you so much, and we would love to have you back whenever you'd love to come on. You're more than welcome to come back on the show. We
thank
love
you so much.
You.
Please contact me via the fabulous modern world of Skype in the future. We're in the future now, and please tell your viewers to watch my show if they are of a like mind as me. I think they'll find it good, especially if they like drinks and scary stories. It's going to be right up their alley.
And that will be actually, as of this episode you're listening to right now, it will be on tomorrow on YouTube. Deathly Spirits comes on the 3rd of April, Friday the 3rd.
Shall I end with my sinister laugh for you?
Oh yes, please, sir.
Let's end with that. Ready?
Yes.
There you go.
There
Fantastic.
we go. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Ted. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. It was wonderful to be on the show.
This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.